What's up, guys? Let's take a look at another CodeWars exercise. This one's called Who Likes It? It's about the little notice under a Facebook post that says who clicked like on that post. And it's a lot trickier than it seems because there are so many possibilities. None, we have to say no one. One, we have to say the name. Two, we have to say the name and the other name. Three, we go name, comma, name, and other name. Four, it kind of feels backwards because the third guy got mentioned in the three, but now the third guy doesn't get mentioned. He gets absorbed into this big number, so we go 1, 2, and the rest. And this is actually the very first CodeWars problem I did last year when I started the site for the first time. And I did it in a terrible way. If you have to give things names and they don't look right, and it's just a mess. However, I came back to it recently and I thought this would be the perfect spot for the match case syntax in Python, the pattern matching. It basically looks like this and fills in the little generic names instead of John and Peter. So let's give it a shot. I'm going to say it might actually work to just drag these over and then fill them in. So in Rust, the match case actually uses an arrow that pretty much looks like this, but in Python it's going to be different. We're going to say match names, and then we're going to say case nothing. We return no one likes this. Okay. Case a single name, let's just call it A, we'll call them ABC. Then we return F to make an F string, and then A in there. Let's try it with a little test just to make sure we're on the right track. Oh, they're going to tell me we forgot to indent. And hey, we got a couple tests, because if it's blank, we say no one. If it's one, we say that one. And then we just fix the rest. So we're going to go case, what if it's two things? The match case is a lot nicer than if, elif, because it doesn't just give you an opportunity for comparison or whatever. It gives you an opportunity for patterns. So if I say AB, what that really means is if the length of the list is 2, let's call the first thing A, let's call the second thing B, let's use them. It does a lot of work for you. And I guess in theory this is a tiny bit slower, but it's way prettier, and I'm going to go with it. So we're going to go A and B like this. And then if we have 3 names, we'll call them A, B, and C. Then we're going to return A, comma, B, no comma. I naturally would put a comma here. It's called the Oxford comma. When you're doing a list and you have an and coming up, I usually put a comma, but this exercise is asking for none, so we won't. And then on the final one, we have an A and a B, and then the other two don't matter because it's not just 2. Like this is catching a list of 7 or a list of 700. This is the final one. This is like the else of the if else. So we're going to say star to collect all of these, and usually people use the word rest. It's not a keyword, it's not a magic Python syntax thing, it's just what you would call it. Rest just means all the other names. If we were going to swallow those and not do anything with them, we'd call it underscore, but I am going to do something with them because I'm going to count how many, right? So we're going to go A, comma, B, no comma, and the len of rest, because rest is all the other one. Like if there are 10 names, then I go A, B, and 8. Okay, so let's test that. Hey, it's beautiful. I really love the match case for stuff like this because this is exactly what they showed us in the example. It's just more generic. It doesn't have Peter and Max and Jacob. It could have totally different names. So it's amazing. Let's check out what we always do, the solutions from other people. Now, since this program, or since this problem has been around for years, it's probably been around before match case existed, and people had to use other stuff. Let's see. This first one is a dictionary, which is pretty cute, but for me, stuff like this always feels a little backwards, like we sort of got an answer and then went back into the question and then back to the answer. Whenever you have these sort of dictionaries that, I don't know how to explain it, but it doesn't feel perfect to me. This one is the classic if, elif, and you have to do a bit of shenanigans to say, okay, modulo, or, you know, like, if it's this, but not this, but also this, and a bit tricky, right? It reminds me of the leap year thing. There's always a question about, is a certain year a leap year, and it's like divisible by 4, but also there's an exception, but also there's an exception to the exception, and it makes it a little annoying. Similar as the first one, just a bunch of comments, and you know, the comments kind of help because the dictionary looks weird. Beautiful. Here's the match case, and it's pretty much the same as mine because, you know, ABC are natural names, and then rest is a standard for the collection of however many at the end. And I think this is beautiful. I think unless it has to be super performant, I would go with it. I think looking up in a dictionary is a tiny bit faster. I think using if, elif is a tiny bit faster. But the match case, like, I find this really easy to read, and I find this also really easy to change if we had to get, you know, if we got an order from Zuckerberg that Facebook was going to display them differently, we could just, boom, go ABC rest, or ABCD, or whatever our new version was. So yeah, I really would have done one of these in the past. Like, the dot format is the old version of the F string, and I think the F string is nicer. If elif is kind of doing the job of what match case should have done, and it's a real nice example of taking something you could have done before, but now we just do it in a little nicer way. And I would gladly put this up against one of those other solutions. So give it a shot and try match case in similar ones where you get a tuple or you get a list that can be varying lengths or varying types of stuff.